a skill that takes less than a week to learn but can save you thousands of dollars. Story 1. I-60F learned how to replace a toilet, build some raised garden beds, how to sister rotten boards until I could replace them, install new dishwasher, change light fixture, and more. All online, probably less than 12-hour each project. Have saved thousands. Story 2. Many car repairs. I learned to change my brakes in a day by itself, rotors including. Learned how to flush transmission fluid and refill. Learned to repair certain gaskets, etc. Learned to replace radiator, timing belt. Each one of these things I learned took me about 48 hours to figure out. Doing the radiator myself saved me $700 alone. Story 3. I learned how to cut my dog's hair during COVID. Watching videos on YouTube. Dog grooming costs a good $70 every 2 months or so over the lifetime of the animal. So my dog has an uglier haircut, but I saved thousands over the course of its life. Story 4. Oil changes. They were costing me $100 each time I went, so I bought some plastic car ramps on sale for $50 and learned how to change oil filter, check air filters, and lube what needs to be lubed. I'm saving about $300 a year and am more manly than ever. Story 5. Learned to cut my own hair. I bought a 45 cutter 10 years ago and haven't gone to a barber since. At $35 a pop every 6 weeks, I figure I've saved over $3,000. Story 6. Sewing. Once a week, I have to patch a hole in a stuffed animal, close a hole in pants pockets, or reattach eyes. I have also made my girls' hair accessories materials cost much less than a store-bought thing. Story 7. Learning how to eat right and exercise regularly. Staying active and at a healthy weight can save you tens, hundreds of thousands in medical bills down the road. Story 8. Installing solar panels. The quote I got for my roof was $12,500. I found a kit for $2,000, and an electrician who did the whole connection for $500 saved myself $10,000, and I did the same for my brother. Story 9. Coffee. A coffee machine is less than $30, and it'll make you coffee for as long as you take care of it. A French press will run you half that, and an electric kettle will run you less than the other half of $30. Paying more than $30 for a cup of coffee is insane. Do it yourself and stop paying $5 a cup for it. Story 10. 2 that I can think of. 1. Reading through a document carefully. The amount of times you fill something in incorrectly and it costs you is crazy. 2. Filling out tax return forms. Similarly to the first point, making sure you understand a tax form could save a lot. Story 11. Not a week, but 14 days to rinse your body of nicotine. The rest of the quitting process is the habit. You really have to learn to live without cigarettes. I quit 10 years ago, approx. 12,000. Story 12. Financial and economic literacy. Basic statistics and critical thought, but those aren't in a week, I guess. Cooking at least 10 basic meals. Not talking prime restaurant quality, but just, I voluntarily put this in my mouth and the hunger stops levels of cooking. This does, of course, scale better with serving size, but that's what meal prep is for. Knowing enough home repair to also know when you're out of your depth and you trying to fix it and failing will be more expensive than just calling the specialist in the first place. Spreadsheeting your budget. Open up your favorite Excel clone and throw all your bills for a month in there. Really look at it. Sort it. Work with it. Look at the stealth costs. Really look at what you're spending money on. Buying reliable stuff. Buying a 100 set of shoes that lasts you 5 years is better than buying a 40 pair every year. And in the meanwhile, you'll be wearing 100 shoes. Your feet will thank you. Story 13. Understanding that there is almost no arbitrage in trading stocks unless you spend millions on an analyst department whose direct information from the industry's companies they cover borderline insider information. Invest long-term and follow large patterns. Story 14. My mom did a short course for cutting hair, 3 children and a husband, so I do think that saved them a lot of money if you count all the savings of not going to a hairdresser. Story 15. First aid and CPR. My little sister is alive because my dad did the Heimlich maneuver when she was little, but it was close. Saving a life is priceless, especially if it's someone you love. Story 16. How to remove and replace your privacy fence. The cheapest quote I got was $3,500 for a fence that was 6 panels. It was $1K just for the removal. Taught myself and spent $800. Story 17. As a plumber, the amount of basic stuff that people get me to do is they could really find out on a 5-minute Google search is incredible. We used to teach basic wiring at school in the UK now. People get me to change their thermostats, which are 3 wires. Story 18. How to operate a socket set. Everything that bolts onto your engine that is easily accessible is actually pretty easy to change out. Oil changes, bolt-on parts in most non-VW cars, etc. Story 19. Cooking, cleaning your teeth, brushing and flossing, changing your car's tires and possible other minor parts. Repairing broken stuff in your home. That's more of a learn when it happens kind of thing though. Replacing broken faucet, hooking up a washing machine, etc. Story 20. Taking care of your teeth. Oscillating toothbrushes cost less than a nice happy hour at Applebee's. Nanotechnology and pastes are filling in cracks present in the enamel. Other pastes replicate the manganine naturally found in the mouth to prevent bad breath. The unpleasant taste of 1950s Colgate calcium carbonate is now a flavor of pyrolyzed coconut husks and Hawaiian ginger root awapuhi. TLDR dental implants is 3K plus. And that's if you have enough of a jawbone to drill into. Story 21. The easiest one in the world. Whenever you want to go in and buy any kind of fast-prepared breakfast, like coffee and breakfast sandwich, go to the grocery store and buy the house, brand coffee, and buy something like Cliff Bars or granola bars in the big multi-pack. Make your own coffee. Eat a Cliff Bar. You got fed and saved thousands of dollars a year. Story 22. How to Google. But I'm serious though. Knowing how to format word a question is extremely important to learn if you want to find answers. Also, if you don't even know what question to ask, knowing how to find enough info to inform yourself to ask the right question is important too. Story 23. Writing down a to-do list at the beginning of the day, even if these are routine tasks and ticking each one off as you finish, gives a good sense of accomplishment at the end of the day, keeps you on track, gives motivation to keep going, and prevents accidentally missing small yet important tasks. Story 24. I've been cutting my own hair for the last 15 years. If you assume I saved 20 months, that's $3,600. Initial investment was $100 for a good pair of buzzers, scissors, and a hand mirror that have lasted me the whole time. Story 25. Learning how to shop, whether it's groceries or general goods. Small things like being able to compare prices by looking at price per ounce unit instead of total cost. Taking the time to look over sales ads. Using manufacturers' coupons. App discounts. The list goes on. So many people mindlessly shop and get into a routine that they don't realize how much they could save if they tried to. Story 26. My local bike shop shut down and was replaced by a new bike shop. The old bike shop would charge like $20 for a full rebuild of your bike, while the new bike shop would charge $100 to just look at the bike. So I have had to learn a lot about fixing my own bike. Also, basic soldering electronic skills saved me having to buy a new motor for the e-bike because the wires were severed. Story 27. A week can offer a lot of learning curve opportunities. Break work, 2 days to learn. Laying a patio, 1 day with a teacher, 3 if you're doing it from books and YouTube. The list goes on. Story 28. Doing your own oil changes for vehicles takes less than an hour to watch a video and do it. YouTube anything to fix anything around your house, outlets, pipes, drywall, caulking, toilets, new light install. All of these are really simple and negate costs by only buying parts and spending roughly 1 to 2 hours watching and doing it. These savings add up over years to thousands in your lifetime that you can spend elsewhere. Story 29. Basically any DIY skill, any trade skill you can do, any planning skill, any cooking skill. If it can employ you, figuratively, it will be something that will save you thousands. Story 30. I learned to build a deck on YouTube, so I save like 10-15K. How to remodel a half duplex and save like 20K in plumbing, tile, kitchen cabinets, etc. Story 31. Depending on the daily catch and availability, what's going on with your life, fishing can theoretically save you thousands of dollars in food and therapy. Story 32. Building credit through credit cards. Since it's mostly about low usage and always paying back what you borrowed, never underestimate the power of a one Patreon sub. They check if both of those off in a super manageable way, can be canceled anytime, and support creators you genuinely enjoy. Story 33. Oil changes over your driving life. I pretty much guarantee there is a well-lit, well-explained, well-filmed YouTube video on doing an oil change for your car, as long as it's not some crazy exotic. It takes very little time or special equipment to do, and oil goes on sale pretty frequently. I can do an oil change in less time than it takes me to drive to the oil change place and back, and I actually care about following the proper procedure, etc., and know it's been done correctly afterwards. Same thing with switching over your winter-summer tires, assuming both sets are on their own rims. Takes hardly any time and you can inspect brakes, etc. as well. Then, you're less likely to get hosed when you do go into a mechanic because you'll have a good idea of the condition of your vehicle's braking system. Story 34. Try to fix everything by yourself. YouTube shows you almost everything you'll ever need, especially anything inside of your home that needs to be replaced or fixed. You can fix about anything with a racket set, soak wrenches, and screwdrivers. Story 35. Yes, cooking. I can make myself any pizza advertised on TV, from scratch. I know how to make jelly, mayo, BBQ sauce, marinara, roux, biscuits, and a plethora of other foods from scratch. Knowing how to sew, knowing how to change oil in a tire, knowing how to hunt and fish, knowing how to save money and not impulse purchase, being frugal. And last but certainly not the least, knowing how to slide a card or a paperclip in a door lock and make it open cheek. Story 36. Basic carpentry and drywalling skills. A hole in a wall costs a few dollars to fix yourself for possibly a few hundred to call someone in. Tools are inexpensive as well. Same with carpentry. Being able to locate a stud means you can hang shelves, cabinets, a TV, whatever, and do it safely. You can also fix most items around the house. Doors, cabinets are. Story 37. Changing watch batteries. Minor fixes to furniture, mending clothes, trimming your own hair, framing pictures. All easy may not save you a huge amount but can add up over time. Story 38. Cooking. The number of 20-somethings I know that blow half their budget on eating takeout 6 times a week is amazing. Also, if you drink alcohol, learning to make your own beer wine. Story 39. In general, the skill is watching YouTube videos on DIY for whatever you need to do. Things I have done. Replace my cracked phone screen. Replace the battery in my old MacBook. Drywall, tile, flooring. Grow vegetable garden. Compost. Cook. Woodworking. Painted my cabinets, built a deck, put in paver walkway, fixed toilets, moved my vanity electrical. I mean, my philosophy is I can do virtually anything. Story 40. Basic cooking. Yes, it takes years to master cooking, but learning to feed yourself does not take long, and just not always involve calling Uber Eats or DoorDash, which over time will break you financially. Story 41. How to negotiate your salary, or more precisely, how it's okay to try and negotiate your salary. Seriously, you can learn the basics in less than 2 hours, and it will earn you hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars each year for the rest of your life if you apply it. Story 42. Minor electrical and plumbing tasks can be learned as needed. For example, if you have an outlet go bad, an electrician is going to charge you as much as $200 to come in and replace it. You can do this for the cost of an outlet and a couple of tools just by following YouTube videos. For the big stuff, yeah, bring in the big guns. But for little stuff, give it a go yourself. Story 43. Look your model. Numbers up on YouTube for appliances. Simple AC repairs maint. Cleaning the outside evaporative cooler and adding shade to it. Changing AC filters, don't change them too often either. They work a little better with a little clutter but not too much simple washer-dryer maintenance lint. Dear Lord, it's a TikTok fad, showing how many people don't even know they have to clean out the lint every single time. Sometimes, especially after towels. If your dryer starts drying terribly, look up your model number on YouTube, and they will show you how to clean out the next place lint coins junk gets trapped after it passes the lint filter. Also, yearly cleaning of the dryer vent. You can buy drill attachments on Amazon or pay someone to do it relatively cheap. This is one of the biggest causes of house fire. Dishwasher filter cleaning. Typically under the spinny arm in the bottom of the dishwasher. You can look up your model number on YouTube and see how to clean it. Proper drain hose height that goes to your disposal. This will help draining and drying of your dishes if you notice your dishes are never dry after a cycle. Don't forget to run a cycle every once in a while with a cup of white vinegar on the top shelf and no dishes. Simple plumbing. Replacing a valve stem spigot. Simple toilet repair, such as flap replacement. Water heater, draining pilot replacement. Look up your model number to your fridge to replace your water filter. Your ice machine and fridge will last much longer if it's not plugged up with gunk. One I can't get my wife to do, even though we live in AZ and don't have a humidity problem: hang your towels up properly. They dry so fast if you let the air hit them. My wife loves to stack towels on the same hook and can't figure out why they smell 2 days later, so she's always washing and drying her towels. I imagine this problem is even worse in a humid environment. Lots of little things like these save tons of money and headache over the years. Story 44. Minor car repairs and maintenance. Most small jobs are easy and don't require special tools. As you learn more, become more confident, and acquire more tools, the savings grow exponentially. I've literally saved close to 10K this year alone, with maybe a couple hundred in tools and a lot of time on YouTube. I do have 5 cars and 4 drivers in the house. Story 45. Learn to change the oil in your own car. When it's time to do the brakes, learn how to do that. It's extremely easy, requires very few tools. You can learn how on YouTube in 10 minutes. Other things you can easily do yourself are rotate your own tires and switch your own winter tires if you buy them on winter rims. Change your own cabin air filter. Detail your own car. The vast majority of car maintenance and care is easy and costs a lot to have someone else do it. Do not make the mistake of believing you can also troubleshoot and diagnose care problems and repair them cheaply. You probably can't, because that requires considerable knowledge and experience that typically must be acquired either through formal education or hard-won and often frustratingly expensive experience. But if you know what the problem is, like my struts need replacing, then it's almost always quite easy to do yourself if you have the tools. Just don't start believing you can diagnose that weird noise it makes just before it cuts out in this specific circumstance, because that is where you need your mechanic. Although your mechanic can also diagnose things for you, you can pay them just to do that. They don't much care if you choose not to have them fix it. They're usually way busier than they want to be anyway. I did my own CV joints the first time because I took it in for a tune-up and he told me what the funny noise meant. And when I said I can't afford, that told me I should learn how to do this myself if I was going to own older cars. He was so right. Always be grateful to that guy. For example, my car's running gear were getting old. I've been feeling old and aching lately, so I asked my mechanic how much to do all 4 struts, replace the bushings, and all 4 brakes. I am an old and favored customer, and the quote was still over $5K. So instead, I ordered new parts from a popular online parts supplier, did the struts, and the ball joints, and the CV joints, plus all the bushings. Did the brakes including new calipers, new discs, new pads, and changed the brake lines for $1,900 in parts, and 2 8-hour days on the weekend. Now, yes, I have done this stuff before, twice actually, but I also learned to do all of it on YouTube, including finding videos specific to my car make model and year on every previous and this occasion. Aside from the parts, I just needed a set of ordinary and cheap tools you can buy from any big box store, plus a few odds and ends which you can use for almost every home project for the rest of your life, a car jack, and some jack stands, and a big piece of cardboard under the car to catch spills and lie on while working. Also, if you think it's physically too difficult for you, I'm 60 and dying of a terminal condition that, among other things, makes me constantly sore and stiff, and frankly, I felt better at the end of the weekend than the beginning, from the activity. Anyone can do this stuff. Story 46. Any trade skills. Plumbing, clearing drains, concrete, framing, building a shed walls, drywalling, electrical, landscaping, pulling a trailer, cooking, motorcycling. Story 47. Simple car repairs. If you have basic tools and a jack, you can do 80 of the job by looking at YouTube instructions. Lots of things are common sense. If you are a bit mechanically inclined, brake jobs, oil changes itself will save you a few thousands. Last I changed a fuel evap sensor. Would probably cost a few hundred in a shop to change. Story 48. I don't know about less than a week, but learnable on your own regardless. Being able to do 99 of the mechanical work on your own vehicles. I have the advantage of growing up doing mechanical things, but the disadvantage of growing up poor. I kind of had to figure it out. But being able to just walk into an auto shop, get exactly the parts you need, and go fix your without paying a dime of shop time will definitely save you thousands. In fact, my little Mazda pickup needs brakes. Parts that cost less than $300 for everything. If I had a shop do the work, it would probably be another $300 if not more, just for the service. Why? It takes a few hours of my time. Brakes especially are about the easiest thing to learn how to do, and rarely do you even need special tools. I'm going to be installing diesel-fired coolant and cab heaters on my diesel to manage harsh winters easier. Ran off an auxiliary lithium that will charge off alternator power, but can't drain starting batteries while stationary. Probably a 20-hour project the way you'll do it. It gets installed exactly how I want it, and I won't throw thousands of dollars extra at a mechanic that has no need to worry about the choice of mounting locations a decade from now. Story 49. Knowing that taking your dog to a reputable low-cost veterinary center will give you the care that you need and save you hundreds of dollars. I never knew until I tried it, but they are just as thorough and loving as any other vet that I've been to. Story 50. Fridge inventory management. I literally just sat down one evening and figured out which core ingredients I should buy. I also bought squeezy bottles for sauces and zip tie bags for storing stuff like herbs. I now spend way less on takeouts and have very little food waste. Story 51. Just remembering things. Recently forgot my laptop during my trip to Bali, Singapore. It would have been a huge loss if I didn't found it in one of the airports. Always be mindful of your surroundings. Story 52. Anything where you get a quote and then spend 5 minutes seeing if you think you can do it and see how much money it would save you. This always motivates me to just figure it out. I've fixed all sorts of things on my car, replaced brakes, radiators, etc., etc. Remodeled my entire house, including plumbing and wiring, tiling, flooring, paint, new roof, etc. Mowed my own lawn and done my own landscaping. But in reality, it's choosing a good partner and learning to plan and budget. Our budget has often said that we can't afford to pay someone to mow the lawn every week or some such thing, so have to just get on with it. Story 53. How to wash your car properly. People spend so much money on car washes and waxes every year when it's simple to learn how to do it yourself and can be done in an hour. Story 54. Doing your own brake work. I drive a ton Uber driver and have to change pads and sometimes rotors at least twice a year for the front and at least once a year for the rear. A year or two of doing my own brakes is enough to save 1,000. Story 55. Cooking and meal prepping. Once you know how to cook, you can save countless amounts of money. Making your own drinks at home if you know how to make drinks. Need to go to a bar. You can always entertain with those skills. Story 56. Doing research before buying can often lead to much more efficient spending. Not knowing what you are buying makes you a lot more likely to overspend. One example is car repairs. People often spend way more than they need to because they aren't sure the extent of what work needs to be done. Story 57. Learning to paint your home's interior properly. On average, homeowners pay professionals about $2,000 to paint, plus paint cost. While painting can be labor-intensive, you save a lot doing it yourself. Go one room at a time, maybe one per weekend. Story 58. Giving new life to existing kitchen cabinets with new hardware and fresh paint. New cabinets make up 28% of kitchen renovation costs. Painting cabinets is time-consuming, but the payoff is usually worth it. Story 59. If you have old windows painted shut, score the perimeter with a utility knife to break through paint. Use a hammer and putty knife to loosen the window. This is important for safety. In case of fire, all windows must be operable. Story 60. Handle small window screen rips with clear nail polish. Larger tiers need specialty repair tape. Either way, you can do it yourself rather than replacing the whole screen. Story 61. One of the easiest repairs with real impact on your energy bill. The Department of Energy estimates it takes a couple hours to caulk air leaks, costing no more than $30 in supplies. A professional might charge $250–$400 to caulk your home. Story 62. Patching drywall might mean filling a small picture hole or repairing a larger accidental hole. Either way, it's pretty easy to repair yourself with basic supplies and saves hundreds in contractor costs. Story 63. Learning to do your own nails, hair treatments, and basic beauty maintenance. Purchase professional tools from beauty supply stores and spend an hour or two weekly taking care of yourself. Save salon splurges for special occasions. Story 64. Learning basic sewing skills like shortening hems, replacing buttons, or mending tiers. If half your closet never gets worn because something's not quite right, that's money wasted. Basic alterations make clothes wearable again. Story 65. If you've never negotiated a lower price on something other than a vehicle or home, you're missing chances to save money. Learning basic negotiation can apply to many purchases and services. Story 66. Understanding basic tools and when to use them. Knowing the right way to hold a wrench, what different screwdrivers are for, how to safely use power tools. This foundation makes all other DIY projects possible. Story 67. Learning to identify and fix energy waste in your home. Simple things like weather stripping, programmable thermostats, and proper insulation can save hundreds annually on utility bills. Story 68. Planning and maintaining a vegetable garden. Even a small garden can produce hundreds of dollars worth of fresh vegetables and herbs annually. Plus, you know exactly what's in your food. Story 69. Instead of paying for furniture assembly or buying new when something breaks, learn to assemble flat-pack furniture and make basic repairs. A loose chair leg or wobbly table can often be fixed in minutes. Story 70. Setting up a simple budget tracking system. Whether it's a spreadsheet or an app, actively tracking where your money goes is the first step to finding areas to save. Most people are shocked when they see their actual spending patterns laid out clearly.